Almost there. Just a little bit more. Come on! I want to beat Nisa now! Yay! It's meta shift time! Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. JC here with another video on Disgaea RPG. With the baddest banner for the collab arriving soon, it's time to talk about Overlord Metallia. But before we start, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Overlord Metallia's any zero buffs her own attack, defense, and HP by 28%. Her any 1 increases her elemental damage by 70% when equipped with a fist. Her any 5 gives all allies a 40% buff to basic stats for 3 turns. And her any 7 gives a 40% buff to attack, defense, and critical damage for 1 turn if an enemy has a defense debuff at the start of turn. For skills, her Swamp Storm is a somewhat cheap AoE attack that reduces attack and defense by 20% for 5 turns, half the target's buffs, and inflict turns. Her Broom Impact is a B rank single target attack that gives 1000 action gauge, buffs attack by 50%, buff all allies defense by 25%, and inflicts thorns to all enemies. Her last skill is her SUHMGA, which stands for Super Ultra Hyper Maximum Great Attack. This skill increases damage by 15% when the target has a defense debuff, and calculates damage adding 8% of Overlord Metallia's resistance. For spells, she has Mega Armor Break, but she already has defense reduction on her kit, and she would rather use her single target attack. With her abilities alone, she gets a 108% attack buff, a 40% resist buff, and a 40% critical damage buff. If we also add her Broom Impact to the equation, that would be an extra 50% buff to attack, giving her a 158% attack buff. And with a critical damage weapon, her critical damage buff can go up to 140%. With just a couple buffers, she will reach the buff cap and will be able to nuke any raid boss which is weak to fire. On the PvP side of things, she's also pretty good. All of her skills have different elements, which means you can attack your targets with whichever skill is most effective against them. Her Broom Impact allows you to take 2 actions in a row. This means you can explode any action gauge manipulation supporter as well as their main attacker while leaving Nisa with the Thorns ailment. This is better than using an AoE attack to beat the whole enemy team because you can then debuff Nisa and clear her buffs. Overlord Metallia is the kind of character that you can build different weapons depending on how you want to use her. First is her action gauge increase weapon. This is essential for PvP. Then we have her skill damage weapon. If you want to deal more damage with all of her skills, then this alchemy effect is what you want to get. Last is her fire damage weapon. Since her SUHMGA is fire element, you should focus on it if you want to explode the enemy. And of course, for your second alchemy effect, you want critical damage for raids or critical rate for PvP. Now then, it's time to talk about team comps. Metallia can get halfway to the attack buff cap on her own on raids, but she only gives herself a 40% critical damage buff. As such, you want to focus on critical damage buffs while giving her more attack. Of course, Future Ursalia and Archangel Flown are some staples you can use along with Overlord Metallia. Archangel Flown is particularly good because she buffs all stats, and Overlord Metallia's S-rank attack deals more damage by adding part of her resistance to the damage formula. Soon enough, Rutil will be added to the game. She is a fist specialist who has good buffs, a damage boosting ability, and an SP battery. Zodiac Lucy is another excellent choice. She has both critical rate and critical damage buffs, has her own damage boosting ability, and works as an SP battery. Overlord Metallia is also lacking in the critical rate department, so any units that give critical rate along with critical damage buffs are good options. As a debuffer with buffing capabilities, Rubens can do whatever you need in your team. Even though her buffs are small, she increases both critical damage and critical rate, and she has a ton of utility for any kind of situation. Formal Ortina, as usual, is an excellent supporter you can use. She gives extra turns for your supporters so that you can reach the buff cap quickly, and she also increases critical rate passively. Peta is a good option for long battles, as she increases the turn duration of your buffs, and she has her own critical damage buff, but she'll become even better once her buff arrives, so keep an eye for her. Estella is a humanoid and fire supporter that gives good buffs, SP, and damage increase buffs. She isn't very impressive, but she pairs well with Overlord Metallia, and will increase your damage significantly if you put her on a fire team. Overlord Metallia can work very well role in any kind of elemental team, because she has 3 different elements on her skills, but the best picks for her are water and fire. Since you'll probably use her Broom Impact to buff her, she can get extra buffs if you pair her with May Salvatore's. Archangel Flown, Nesaria, Beach Sicily, and Prini Mascot Asagi are just a couple units with water element attacks that increase critical damage, and if you're tackling raids with water element barriers, you can use Beach Lucy. For fire you want to use Bright Seraphina and Stella together, along with other critical damage buffers. Right now we don't have many units with fire buffing attacks, but keep an eye for Majin Hanako, Summer Piori, and RK Gerlahard. In similar fashion to Beach Lucy, Santa Serafina and Flame Lord Margarita will help you with fire barriers. And that's it, guys. Overlord Metallia is pretty good, but her main appeal is the ability to defeat Nisa thanks to Thorns. The only difference between this and Poison is that Thorn can kill a unit while Poison can't. But even without that niche, I think she's pretty good. But what do you think? Is she worth the roll? Is she niche? Are you rolling for her? Let me know in the comments. See ya!